What's going on, everybody? My name's Franco, and today I'm going to be going over what I feel are some undervalued, underappreciated, underrated, whatever you want to call them, running backs for this upcoming fantasy football season. Now, it's right around the corner. September is just about here. Now that we're in July, I'm finally going to be focusing a little bit more on getting some more content out, trying to upload once or twice a day, so like, comments, subscription are always appreciated. Now, these running backs, these are based on the average ADP and ranking based on Fantasy Pros. These are some of them that they might be here due to injury or just a predicament or anything that could be a factor, but I feel like these guys are flying a little bit under the radar, so hopefully you'll be able to snatch them at their low ADPs while you still can. So I'm going to start off with nobody. Apparently my keyboard broke. I'm going to start off with James Conner. James Conner is right now going in at about the running back 15 with an ADP of around 33. Also, for the record, this is all in PPR. Now, I just really like James Conner last year. I know he's due for a tiny bit of a regression in regard to the touchdowns. 15 touchdowns is a lot for someone who, quite frankly, shared a little bit of time with Chase Edmonds, and just overall, it wasn't like the best offense you've ever seen. They were a good offense, but not a 15 touchdown good offense. That being said, I do really like his chances to have a good season in terms of more yardage, even if it means he won't get as many touchdowns. He emerged a little later on in the year as a pass-catching back. Not a great one by any means, but he was good enough where he was more viable in PPR than some people may have thought he was, and he overall just looked like a better, older version of himself than he had in those injury-filled final years in Pittsburgh. On top of that, Chase Edmonds left for Miami, and they really didn't do a great job at finding him a suitable backup. They went on and got Darrell Williams from Kansas City, I believe, but besides that, it's a couple rookies, and nothing that will really dive into his snaps as much as Chase Edmonds did, even though he missed a chunk of the year with an injury. So I think he's a little bit higher than his current ADP. I think right now that shows you can get him in about the second to third rounds, which would be a steal for someone who could wind up being a running back one again this season. And speaking of former running back ones, we have Saquon Barkley of the New York Giants, who it's an injury thing. It always makes me feel a little scary getting someone coming off an injury, with that peak he had when he first started off was so good. And I just really love the opportunity to get somebody who has that peak at this low of a pick. It's like a smaller version of McCaffrey, albeit less high of a ceiling, but also just less of a draft ranking. Right now he's coming in at around the running back 12, with still a pretty high ADP of 24. So he's not like a super steal. Like, I know some people were saying you can get him in the third round, fourth round, but I see him going in the middle of the second, early third at the worst. Obviously didn't have a great year last year, but at least he could play it and he got some snaps in, and he's still the focal point of this offense. I don't care how many pieces they add. He's going to be the lead back when he's healthy, just based on his talent, the draft capital, and just the overall state of the team. He's a good pass-catching back as well, so I could figure him to get enough yards for you, enough catches, hopefully find the end zone a couple more times, obviously more than two like he did last year. And I know the offense in New York won't be too great, but I think he'll be a good, solid, low-end running back one, which is much better than the value they have for him right now. Another one who's in this kind of the same range is Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs, people are on the fence about a lot this year. I know it's a contract year for him, and they're kind of being a little stingy about giving him a longer contract, and he's on the same end, not really showing up as much. So a lot of people are worried about him maybe being like iced out, or like them trying to move on from him, but I just don't buy it given the current state of this team. This is a team that is built to win now. The acquisition of Devontae Adams and paying him all that money exemplifies that. This is a team that has every piece on offense that should be able to contend for the Super Bowl. If we're being quite honest, that offense is elite. And just not using Josh Jacobs to his full potential just feels like you're robbing that team of an opportunity for greatness at the expense of a contract. So I just don't buy it fully. The only thing I would be a little concerned about is Josh McDaniels, the new head coach of the Vegas Raiders, who might not use him as much. I know he comes with the Patriot system of the running back by committee kind of approach, but overall he's just at this value of a 35 ADP and a 22 running back rating. I think it's extremely low for him. For someone who has a good pass catching game, who's primarily the lead back. I know Kenyon Drake was there last year, but he's often injured and not really a threat to take too much of a big role in this offense anyways. So I just really like Josh Jacobs at this low of a value. I've seen him going in some mock drafts in the 4th, 5th rounds, and being able to pick up a running back 2 there is perfect, especially because he has pretty much a ceiling of a low-end running back 1, and he'll definitely win you a couple weeks. Someone in the same vein as him as well is J.K. Dobbins, who's another one of our injury players. I'm kind of guess alternating between underappreciated, injured, whatever. Dobbins missed the entirety of last year, unfortunately, after a great 2020 campaign, and his ADP has definitely tanked as a bit of a result. He's only one rank below Josh Jacobs, but that ADP of around 50 means that you can get him at a big discount this year. And honestly, I'm all for buying on a chance at that rate. I think he has a great chance to be a number one lead back on a run-first offense. Because the Ravens last year were just decimated with running back injuries. Dobbins, Edwards, and then just everyone else in between. They were running back with the committee of like 3 washed-up veterans at some point. And this is a team that loves to run the ball. Their team is built around running the ball. They don't have any wide receivers because they love running the ball. So if they have a full, healthy team back, they're going to go to their best back, and he's going to be their primary handler. And he's J.K. Dobbins. That's him in this case. I just don't see any situation where J.K. Dobbins doesn't get just an absurd amount of touches this year. And I know Lamar Jackson is going to eat into some of those, obviously, in the RPO. But you got to lead back on a run-heavy team at ADP of 51. You have to jump all over that whenever you can. And then we have one more here in our main section, which is Cordarrelle Patterson, who was the league winner and whatever everyone calls him of last season, who really nothing changed. I mean, Mike Davis left, but he wasn't much of a threat anyways. Obviously, the change of Matt Ryan leaving will hurt him to Marcus Mariota, but his ADP tanked. And I mean tanked, like an 86. And if he keeps up the designation of running back / wide receiver, and you could put him in the running back spot, there's no reason not to take a chance on him, honestly, on like the 60s or 70s in the ADP range. Because he'll just go out there and he'll run routes as a wide receiver. You'll have a wide receiver just out there running, listed as a running back. Nick, in PPR especially, there's no reason not to jump all over that, especially if he's the third running back on your team and you're able to keep him on the bench and use him if he starts getting hot. I just don't see how he slipped so far. I mean, obviously there's a lot of changes at the quarterback position. Matt Ryan is definitely better than Marcus Mariota, but Mariota's not a slouch. He's been in a playoff game. He's a former top 2 pick. Like, he is a decent enough quarterback, and I don't really understood why the Raiders didn't throw the ball with him. Every time he was in the game, they ran it. That got me mad. But anyways, he's a competent enough quarterback where I don't feel like Cordarrelle Patterson is going to fall off a cliff as these ADP and RB rankings are indicating. So I definitely think it's a great opportunity. You could take a chance on him. I wouldn't even call it a buy low because I don't feel like he has any reason to be that low. Like, this one just bewilders me. I'm sure as we get closer to the draft date, it's going to be a lot more smoke around him, and he's going to start jumping up a little bit, 5th round, 6th round. But if anything, if he keeps sliding into this range, you have to take a chance on him wherever you can. And my last one here, I like to do a couple of main sleeper candidates, and then I go for one deep one. This is my true sleeper, which is Damian Pierce of the Houston Texans. Strong rookie out of Florida. They drafted him in the 4th round. And I will say, obviously, he's not the best running back in this class. He was drafted like 3rd or 4th out of the running backs, but he landed in the perfect situation. Houston right now doesn't have a solid running back group, and that's being generous. It's Marlon Mack coming off a season-ending injury, and Rex Burkhead as Rex Burkhead. This is not a running back room that is set in stone for anything more than the midpoint of the season, and at that ADP of 139, he'll be there pretty much the end of every draft, so you're able to take a chance on him. Just throw a flyer out there, have him sit on your bench for 7 to 8 weeks, and then if he ends up starting, then you have a lead running back on a bad team, but a team. And just having a lead running back at any position, any team rather, at ADP of 140 is a steal. Even if you have to, hog up a bench spot for a little while. So if you have you're able to kind of like afford to stash a running back and not really use him for a little while. Honestly, I can see Damian Pierce winning over this running back room by at latest mid-season. I just really believe in his talent, and I really believe in not the rest of the talent of the Texans. As a Texans fan, that hurts me to say. But regardless, those are my 5 running backs and a sleeper that I believe are undervalued this year in fantasy. Obviously, there are more. Obviously, you might disagree, but let me know in the comments if you do. And if you don't, just leave a like, subscribe, and have a great day.